Welcome. This is a Dissonant Whispers interview. I'm Oleander Hawthorne, and I have with me here Einar Wyldsol for a little get to know ya, little character interview for us to find out stuff that we don't necessarily find out in game or things that happened pre-recording.
Anything you want to get off your chest before we start?
I don't like his shaved face. I just have to say that I told him I wasn't even going to record this today because I was so mad that he shaved his face.
I nicked the mustache too far up and looked silly, but we're in the development zone, so we're going to do this.
Oleander might be a little heavy-handed at times. I came and he had a chin strap, and I made him go shave that because it was emotionally upsetting to me.
So I cooperated. And now I feel bald.
Yes, now he's a naked baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anything about the start of the campaign? Okay,
right.
well.
Let's start out first. First question. What kind of character at the very beginning of the campaign were you trying to make?
So, me and the DM had come up with, I was going to go with D&D Batman with a little twist, because I grabbed ink right off the bat as my weapon, and so I had kind of like a symbiote vibe. I could throw some ranged punches, and it was Fighter Monk to start, because, right until session 1, because I thought, brawler, using unarmed fighting, you could also exploit flurry of blows a little. But, yeah, that was the start of the character.
Now, I'm trying to remember, what level did we start out as?
5.
It was level 5?
No, yes, 5.
Yeah, I think it was level 5. Yeah, and so, each of us got, 2 greens and a blue or something like that, or like the for as far as rare items go. And I thought it was neat because I had never heard of the idea of an ink tattoo. Tattoo, yeah. So your ink is a magical tattoo that you are attuned to.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really, really cool because I'd never heard of that as an idea. And I always love the stuff that people come up with that I'm not familiar with. Even though I've been playing for 20 years, there's always stuff you just don't know. Yeah. Now, how has your character deviated from your original intent?
So immediately, Session 1 as we were going in, there was some confusion, some worry about having flurry of blows, and if unarmed strike should also count for flurry of blows and doing full damage, and if I was going to be doing so much damage off the start, and instead I just dropped it. So we'll come back to this, and I'll just go straight fighter. So we dropped it immediately for fighter, as the session got going, and instead it was 2 attacks to start and action surge, which was still pacing each other. But it also let my character immediately be like, well, I did take a feat at 4, and it was Shadow Touched, and in my story, I had Shadow and Fey, and new Fey Touch was coming right away. And then as I got that, started going, kind of like having all of these powers on this melee character, and we're still with the plan of, Batman, we're going to bring in the monk, but then there was the problem with our DM, Stewie, loving to just hurt me. He loved beating me up. I
don't know why.
Hitting Einar was a thing. A lot. And I do remember the one fight, the demon fight in the church, and I was yo-yoed 7 or 8 times. And we do play it with, these, me and Drax, when we went down in Delphine's like this too. You break a bone when you go unconscious, or something broke, something went wrong. But then the magical energies have reknit, but the memory's still there. And so it was a traumatic evening, and the player too was like, I'm gonna die! So I said, forget this monk crap. I had still not gone too far. My wisdom was still only at 12. I had lots of con and strength. And my brother Drax, he didn't seem to have the same problem with this half damage absorbing stuff. So I was like, I want that. And so I went Barbarian. And the DM and I also talked about the ones that we liked and didn't like how Zealot seemed fun, but really kind of broke the cool tension that we were going with for Resurrections. And Beast was just staring me there as the character and with the backstory, because we were talking about, a fun vigilante character with lots of powers. Beast's powers kind of made sense. And so, the most physical changes have come from that as far as my intending to build. Then there's the, other things to come. But
yeah. Now, is there anything from your background or backstory that you're wanting to tell people about, either that has been revealed prior to recording, or is part of your character's motivations, your personality, things that affect your choices but wouldn't actually necessarily come up in game or discussion?
Yeah, there's definitely a few things with Einar that we'd be talking. I mean, a big part of his backstory, and the important part, is obviously he's Drax's brother. We're adopted brothers. Brought in by a monk warrior father who had a problem with the Obsidian Shadows and trained me from... We don't even know my proper age. We're debating it at this time. So the half-elf was trained until about 13 as, a bit of a combatant. Then they met his brother, another durable ruffian who his dad brought in, and like Big Daddy Styles trained these guys to become vigilantes. And the party met them about 3 months after they'd lost him in the war that they're involved in. And so that's right. He plays a character, the ghost, out of the Ghost in the Darkness. Sorry, he's the darkness. His brother's the ghost. but they met them as those characters, and it's something that he ran with for quite a while in the campaign for different reasons and trauma. There's also the big story crux point of the night that we were assaulted viciously. We were, it's obviously the vamp bite night. We had our DNA messed with. It
was vicious for you. For me, it was still an assault, but I was charmed, so I thought it was great.
A little more loving, yeah. Me and Bartholom were exchanging blows to the death. Him misting off as I collapse in a heap. It's not good. But whereas she had a more traditional vampiric infection, where when she needs blood and gets blood, she turns vampire mode. Einar was different. For some reason, like, he needs blood, but on a less sustained basis, less cycle as he figured out for them, and he gets really strong. And drinking blood heals him for the amount of damage he does. And incidentally, we decided his bite is his unarmed strike, and I'm an unarmed fighter. Who also can enhance it? Yeah, you get the point. But I got the hampering of my rage interferes. If I try to rage and go into my beast mode, the ink may overcome me and I may become more venom-like, or I may lose out control and another beast emerges on top of my beast and I become a vampire Batman Hulk creature thing that the DM came up with me after watching some of our favorite shows and talking about this stuff, and our love
Hulk
of
and Man-Bat.
It was great.
Yeah,
it's great.
Out of control.
It's
great if we could point him in a direction that we were not, in front of. Not so good if he sees us.
He considers everything on the battlefield a target.
Yeah.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And even then, Oleander will not turn on him, and we'll take care of him.
They trust each other. It's the foundation. Which I guess gets to the other big thing. The other big major character thing that's really important, obviously, is the relationship that began between them, but how? Because it's the big night, right? It's the ballroom night where Delphine meets her ex-fiancé and everything goes along with that, and the multiple fights and the transformation into the Bat for the first time, along with the ink overcoming him for the first time. And then there's the brief moment of pause before they can even address it. The trauma of fighting and trying to get the kids and losing them, and Oleander having to pull out the vampire, and Druken's abandonment of her, turning invisible when she's trying to communicate with him and walking off because he can't handle this, and like the devastation it left her in. And how my bro Drax loves me, but he's fine. We've already had a half minute conversation earlier that I got this, but I'm needing time. So he goes and crashes, and Rolled running off, and the party falling apart. And yet you understand that to this point, Einar had still been keeping to just him and Drax, except checking on Oleander because they had a similar problem. And he was taking care of their feeding, whether it was hunting and bringing back food for her and figuring out her cycle of needing feeding versus his.
Because Oleander was not paying attention to her own needs.
So and the party didn't even realize he was half vampire for a bit at first because he covered their tracks so well on feeding and just, making it look like he was doing normal stuff for them. And so he kept routine, went to check on her. And, the poor devastated girl who's pretty much ready to cry herself to sleep and feels abandoned by the whole party.
I cried myself to sleep every single night for, I think, almost the entire first half of the campaign so far. Yeah. And I specified that.
Yeah, honestly. And so she's thinking of leaving. She's devastated. He's just come to check on her as usual. She's saying she's fine. She's feeling less vamp mode at that point. She can also see, this broken and battered Einar who's busy checking on her. He hasn't been healed. The party is again, honestly, kind of treating him like the monster they sometimes call him, like one person in particular. And, you know, she's the whole, maybe you should come in and are you okay? And his guard drops, and he comes in, and they go to the balcony talking, and they have an 8-hour chat. And as the armor comes off, and the comfort levels rise, and the conversations go on, and the healing, and the both magical and honestly just conversation, because you're talking about a character who was stuck in a role. He had lost his father, doesn't know how to deal with protecting his brother or continuing this war. This is an emotionless, predatory, constantly paranoid character that has to be ready to fight at a moment's notice. And this is where he had been, and she realized the character underneath it, who's this compassionate, emotional, caring person who will throw himself in harm's way for others. To be the vigilante that they have to be. It's not that you don't care; it's you care too much. And then they realize they have a lot in common, like coming from cloistered families that taught them a lot about honor and caring for each other and caring for other people, and how kindness is a fundamental requirement, and that those that don't have it maybe don't deserve it back. And that's where you can draw the lines, and a relationship began. They started.
We both came from, although he came from a very strict and, I don't know the word for his...
Quasi-abusive, maybe?
Yeah. All that considered, we both came from very loving backgrounds.
Yeah. As loving as a, big daddy father who's willing to, smack his kid and put him in harm's way.
We both felt very cherished by our parents.
He waited till we were a mature age until he took us into the field.
Okay, my background is actually way more traditional than his.
It's messed up. But the relationship is fundamental because it brought him into the party and it changed his views.
Now, what is there a favorite moment pre-recording other than what you've already mentioned that has affected your character's development or choices?
Affected my character's development or choices? You know what? I can definitely go with something that actually I think is another major one here. Madame... Oh wait, she is recording.
No, that's recording. No spoilers.
We gotta stop there.
No spoilers.
Well, then the other one would probably be, it didn't affect, and I've already mentioned it, so we won't go into the bridge again, but let's go into Druken's resurrection. That's a pretty major moment in stuff, because, you saw where people were on the party and how much they cared. It was one of the first moments, too, for the rest of the party to actually see a glimpse in the of the character underneath, because Einar wasn't just this hyper-paranoid character in that moment. He was a character of action, getting what needed to be done. When someone needs to be told we need compassion and keeping this person here, it's Einar who spends all night not only talking to her first, to him first, but then the next night when she needs, a vanguard, someone who doesn't abandon her in the forest, it's Einar who's sitting there and waiting. And so this was a night where he connected with, I think, a few of the party members. Druken and him solidified their bond a little bit because of what he said and how he was there for him, I personally think. It showed Delphine a little bit more like, wait a minute, this isn't... You would have expected maybe it was Rolls who would step up or something. Yeah. No, it was Einar who stepped up to sacrifice. We're
going to need a whole other video to talk about Druken's resurrection.
We will. That's why I'm not diving in.
That is a lot.
It's a good one.
A lot
but
to get into.
Focusing on that night when everyone was to abandon you after the thing, and how Einar, that was a bit of a change in his character too, because he was really that day, it was all about the party there, and all about seeing who stuck their necks out for each other. And a few people had their necks on the line and did extra and showed that they were there for everybody, and other people were task done, now I'm tired.
Yeah. Now, what is Einar's goal or aspiration for this campaign?
So, there's the early one and there's the two current. Traditionally, right, it was about burning the Obsidian Shadows out of existence. That was the mission. Period. Done. Drax and Einar both grew beyond that pretty quick. We realized they're part of a bigger situation. We're part of a bigger, especially Einar, realizing he's part of a bigger situation and story. And due to the character's nature, he feels tied and obliged to it. He made her a promise. The first night that their relationship started, before it even was a thing, as a friend even, just as someone who cared for her. She was terrified about being out there. She thought she was in over her head. He felt she belonged there, that she made a difference. And he made a promise to her that regardless of what happens, she's getting home. Whether he carries her there or crawls with her on her back, she's getting home. And now he wants to go there with her. It sounds like a lovely community. He'd love to defend it from the shadows and in the forest.
It is a nice place. Everybody loves each other in the family. A little weary about anybody outside, but he would be welcome.
He could be their pet cryptid. So let's go one, but also it's he ain't down with being in this key.
But are you down with the sickness?
Oh, always been down with the sickness.
Okay, just checking.
Anyways.
My bad. All right, what...
Oh, wait. Doesn't want to be the key. Wants to, break the gate.
Yes.
Yes, I must break the gate, not open the gate. This is what must happen.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else in particular, aside from that you want to quickly add on?
How deeply he cares about his brother. Going into the campaign, the only thing he has in this world is his hatred for the Obsidian Shadows and his will to stop them from hurting others, because that is a big thing with Einar. It's very much about, he's got a list of 101 rules his dad tried to instill in him that he has in the journal that we've got written out, and some of them are great, but they're often mashups of here's a philosopher and a general saying, let's put the two of them together, right? And some of them make great contextual sense, and some of them are dangerous in the wrong mindset, but you have to understand, the character is this altruistic character that believes right is right, you do it because you can, someone can't help themselves, then you do it, that sort of thing. And so, I guess that's what I would focus on, is just how much he has found a family and how determined he is to keep them from harm and end this thing with the devastation that's going on around him.
Yeah, Einar is a very compassionate character. That is external view is that compassion and empathy and sacrifice is basically the key words for Einar to describe him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And thank you guys very much. This is Einar Wyldsol, brought to you by Dissonant Whispers. And thank you very much for joining us.
Toodaloo.
See you soon.